Right, I have no Tom on yet, so I'll keep waiting.
We can get started.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Menomonee Public Library Board of Trustees regular committee meeting tonight. Regular meeting to order. It's Wednesday, February 28th, 2024, 6 o'clock p.m. First, we're going to do a public comment period. The Library Board of Trustees will hold a public comment period for the purpose of allowing the non-appointed public the opportunity to address the board regarding any matter that involves the library or matters over which the Library Board of Trustees has authority to take. The public comment session will last no longer than 15 minutes, and individual presentations are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. These time limits may be extended at the discretion of the board president. Library board members shall not respond to or debate matters raised during public comments. Public comments should be addressed to the library board as a body. Any questions or comments posed to an individual member of the library board will be deemed out of order by the board president. Presentations shall not deal in personalities or personal attacks on members of the board, the applicant for any projects, library employees, or residents of the village of Menomonee Falls. No campaigning for political office is allowed during the comment period. Comments, questions, and concerns shall be presented in a respectful and professional manner. Any individual violating these expectations will be deemed out of order by the board president. Would anybody like to speak?
Did anyone go to speak? Okay. All right, Tom is on now, so he should be able to be seeing and hearing us. I'm just going to check if you can hear us. I think you guys can keep on.
Was there anybody that wanted to speak for public comment? All right. Next, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Items listed under the consent agenda will be approved in one motion unless any board member requests that an item be removed for individual discussion. That item will be considered at an appropriate time during the board's regular order of business or under new business. We got the approval of the minutes of the January 17th, 2024 regular board meeting and February 26th, 2024 special board meeting, and the bill approval for January 2024 in the amount of $48,039.81. Can you motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
And a second? All right. Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Next, we got new business. Discuss and consider for approval President Barker's appointment of Matthew Corner to the Special Events Outreach and Fundraising Committee. I have a motion to approve Matthew Corner.
Motion to appoint Matthew Porter to the Special Events Outreach and Fundraising Committee.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Matthew, do you approve of the?
Absolutely.
Okay. All those in favor of appointing Matthew Corner to the Special Events Outreach and Fundraising Committee, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed. Discuss and consider for approval President Barker's appointment of Tom Ewing to the Library Board Policy Review Committee. Need a motion?
Motion to appoint Tom Ewing to the Library Board Policy Review Committee.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Tom, you accept the appointment?
I do.
All right. All those in favor of appointing Tom Ewick to the Library Board Policy Review Committee, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passed. Next, we have discuss and consider for approval the 2023 Wisconsin Public Library Annual Reports.
All right. Once again, I can take very little credit for the annual report. That is Ellen's project that she looks forward to every single year. So you all should have in front of you the annual report. For those of you who this is your first annual report, public libraries are required to submit an annual report to the state of Wisconsin, the Department of Public Instruction each year with many, many statistics about our services, how many checkouts we had, how many programs we offered, things like that. So I'm just going to whiz through it, but if you have any questions, please stop me at any time. So the first page is just some general information about the library. It talks about how many hours we have been open for the year. Page 2 talks about the library collection. So it mentions how many books we have in print. Last year we added over 10,000 books, over 262 audio materials, and 887 video materials. And then it talks about that final number. Remember, one of the standards for library services in Waukesha County is maintaining a collection of a certain size. So this helps Bridges and Waukesha County ensure that we have the collection, that we're meeting the minimum requirements for our population. It also talks about electronic collections that we have locally or that our library system provides or that's provided statewide through BadgerLink. So it talks about how many we have of those. Then section 3 gets into library services. So it goes over how many checkouts we had, how many checkouts of children's materials we have, and then other physical items like library of things. It also talks about how many interlibrary loans that we provided. And for that purpose of interlibrary loans, that means interlibrary loans between Bridges Library System libraries. So we loaned 48,430 items to Bridges libraries, and we received about 50,991 items. And this is largely due to us having a patron base that are very, very knowledgeable and intelligent about how to use the cafe system, how to request items. So that's a really good sign. We have a lot of patrons who, if they are going to learn about renovating the children's library, they will request every single book or material possible in the system about renovating a children's library. So that's a really good sign that our patrons are using the resources that are available to them as part of Bridges library system. Then you'll see that it talks about WISCAP. That's our true interlibrary loan, where we lend and borrow items from libraries outside of Bridges library system throughout the state of Wisconsin and sometimes in other states as well, particularly Minnesota and South Dakota. That's just how it works. Yeah, it's really cool. Then we get into how many registered users are at the library, so how many people have library cards by resident versus non-resident. So you'll see that we, at the end of the year for 2023, we had 14,619 residents of Menomonee Falls with an active library card and 1,416 non-residents of Menomonee Falls with a library card here. So that would be people who do not live in a community within the Bridges library system that has a library of their own. So they're either from a different county or they live in an unlibrary community such as Landon or Lisbon. It goes over how many reference transactions that we had and how many library visits that we had. We manually tally the reference transactions at each of the service desks, and then we have a door counter for those library visits. It also talks about our public internet computers, how much use we had, how much use of the Wi-Fi, and a lot of this is repeat information for you since I already gave my year-end report. So I'm going to keep going, but please stop me if you have any questions. Then on page 3, it breaks down the programming that we serve by age. So the way that the state breaks it down is they record programs for children, ages 0 to 5, ages 6 to 11, ages 12 to 18, adult, and then any general interest program for people of all ages. So this is a really good breakdown for us as we look at some of our strategic planning initiatives, such as making sure that we have equitable amounts of programming for people at all stages of their life, looking at it and seeing if there's anywhere that we need to increase, or if there's any way that we can do intergenerational programs, things like that. And then we count the actual attendance of people at these programs as well. So we had 536 programs with over 12,500 participants last year, which is pretty darn good. There is a section about virtual programs or pre-recorded programs that was mostly used during the beginning of the COVID pandemic. Then on page 4, you'll see all of your names and your home addresses and your emails. So take a minute to make sure that that's accurate. If we need to make any changes, you can let Ellen and I know after the meeting, and then we can get that updated for you.
Yeah, let us know right after the meeting, and
We're submitting it tonight. Yeah, so we're submitting it right away tonight. Page 5 is all about our revenue. So where we get our municipal appropriation from, how much they allocated us in 2023, which is listed there. And then how much our home county appropriation for library services was, so how much we got from Waukesha County, and then how much we got from other counties. Now, so that, where you see Jefferson, Dodge, Washington, Racine, Walworth, and Ozaukee, that is where, if anybody who lives in a community that doesn't have a library of their own from that county gets a library card at our library and checks out materials, that is the reimbursement for the cost per circulation. So you can see Washington County, we get quite a bit of funding from them because so many patrons from non-library communities in Washington County come to our library and check out materials. So every single time they check out a material, we get reimbursement from that county. Now, these reimbursement totals are actually from 2 years prior. So that's just the way that it works, is that there's a delay. So the 35,000 from Washington County, that's based on statistics from 2021, right, Ellen? Yeah, there's a year skipped. Then we go over state funding with different grant revenue that we receive. So the Hoopla grant, that's from Bridges Library System to help offset the cost of Hoopla. Then we also got the Bridges Innovation Grant to work on the tween space, 10-12. And then there's any other grants. So we did receive a federal grant for $2,000 for professional development for staff last year. So you'll see all of that listed there. Then on page 6, that goes over the breakdown of operating expenditures, how much is spent on salaries and wages, how much is spent on employee benefits, and then how much is spent on the collection itself. So that's another thing that we have to focus on with the county standards, is making sure that we're spending enough money on the collection based on our community population. Then there's various contracts for services listed, so you can see how much we pay each year to be part of Bridges Library System. So to be part of the CAFE consortium and have access to the Polaris software that we use, and to be able to use cafelibraries.org, and then electronic content, so those are various databases that we have access to, specifically through Bridges, such as Ancestry for Libraries. And then cooperative purchases, so things like receipt paper, things like buying the actual library cards that we need to give out to people. Those are all cooperative purchases through Bridges in order to cut costs and save money. So that's another really great benefit of being part of Bridges, is to be able to go in on bulk purchasing for many things in order to get a better discount. It also, and then it breaks down the rest of the operating expenditures. You'll see the other funds held by the library board at the bottom of page 6. That's the fund balance, and I'm going to go into a little bit of a deep dive on the fund balance during my children's presentation, so I'll be able to break down all of that for you as well. Then on page 7, that's staff, and that's the budgeted amount for staff, so that's not the actual. So it breaks down all of the librarians, and then the hours. So you can see down at the bottom, you'll see, hours worked per week, that's 100. So someone is not working 100 hours, one person is not working 100 hours a week here. That's multiple people holding the position of library clerk. So that breaks down the budgeted amount of staff, and that's not necessarily what we actually spent on them. And then you'll see that our total library staff was 21.01 full-time equivalents. So that is a mix of full-time and part-time to make up 21.01. And that is also another thing on the county standards. Almost done, we're in the home stretch. Page 8, that is public library loans of materials to non-residents. So you might be curious how many people we are serving who are not residents of Menomonee Falls, or they're not residents living in Waukesha County, or they are not residents but they live in another county in the library system, so that would be Jefferson, or they are non-residents living in an adjacent county not in the library system, so it could be any of the adjacent counties other than Jefferson. And you can see how many of those people had a library and how many of them did not have a library, and how many checkouts we actually made for them in 2023. Then you'll see circulation of non-residents living in an adjacent county who don't have a local public library. So all those statistics that you see for Dodge, Washington, Racine, Walworth, Jefferson, you're going to see the actual check cut for all of those circulations in our fiscal year 2025. And then finally, at the end of it, they have programs on self-directed activities. So that is any self-directed activity that's not an official program, like a story time. So what you will find under there are things like the scavenger hunt. If we have a craft activity out on the tables for children's or teens, and they do that craft, we keep track of it. So it's something that they can do that's independent on their own. But it introduces them to any broad range of library services or activities. Then on page 9, so there's the public library assurance of compliance with system membership requirements. That is just ensuring that we are following state statute for all of these things, that we have been established under state statute, that it's free for the inhabitants of the municipality, that we have the statutory requirements for board membership, and it goes through that I'm present in the library and work at least 10 hours a week while the library is open to the public. That's a statutory requirement, so we check that box this year. And just a couple other things. So that's the annual report as a whole. On the final page, which is something that you'll be actually voting on separately, that is a statement concerning public library system effectiveness. So each year it's up to the library board to decide whether or not you feel that Bridges Library System provided effective leadership and adequately met the needs of the library, or if they did not provide effective leadership and adequately meet the needs of the library. So I hope you don't mind, I did check that they did provide effective leadership and adequately met the needs of the library, and then just put an explanation they did do that. So I felt that they have, but of course it's completely up to you. Any questions?
Where are we at?
We're on the way last page of the annual report, so page 10.
Got it.
a motion to approve the annual report and then a motion to approve the system effectiveness.
Okay.
Motion to approve the Wisconsin Public Library annual report.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of approving the 2023 Wisconsin Public Library annual report, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion passed.
These are.
Okay.
Shall I make a motion?
Yeah, that's for the effectiveness.
I make a motion to approve the public library, Bridges Public Library System effectiveness.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the 2023 Bridges Library System effectiveness statement, say aye.
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 Motion passed. Oh, any opposed? No, motion passed. Then we got the standing committee reports, the policy review committee, which is B. We are meeting, 4:30 or 4. I know we got two coming up, so.
It's one of those days.
So, in that meeting, we have 4 policies we have to review. And that is based on circulation policies, so, otherwise, we haven't met since a while ago, so it's common live streaming committee, Carol?
There's more,
Oh,
special events.
okay, sorry, thank you for that one.
So Amy's not here, and, we just appointed Matt. Do you like Matt or Matthew?
That is perfectly.
Matt, okay. Appointed Matt to that committee, so I think with his marketing experience, we can maybe move on. One thing I did discuss in our last meeting was I reached out to the Art Guild of Menomonee Falls, and I'm hoping that them, in collaboration with the high school, can maybe do the updates to the tree in the children's section. Because we have some fantastic artists, and the school has, from what I understand, tons of supplies. So I did follow up with him. He said he presented it to the whole committee. Actually, they had their largest group ever, 42 people. So he's going to kind of wait to hear back from them. So hopefully something will happen with that. And then 2 events where we are going to need board representation. Saturday, May 25th is Memorial Fest. And if you haven't been there, it's a great day. It's a fun day, and then we'll host a table. Try to get some new members and answer any questions. And then Saturday, August 10th is Kids Fest, which really was huge last year and is probably going to be even bigger this year. So you can mark those dates, and if you are available to help with it, that would be amazing. That's all I have. August 10th.
When was the first one?
May 25th was Memorial Fest,
Okay.
and then Saturday, August 10th is Kids Fest. I think that was it, right, Jan?
Yeah, those are the 2 big ones for sure.
All right, the next would be the coffee shop committee.
Yeah, it's finished up, it's dissolved, so.
Then live stream committee, Carol.
So I thought I'd give a kind of an overview from Matt and Tom, just so you know where we are with this. So I think our live streaming and videotaping of library board meeting committee was convened about the same time as the ad hoc committee for the coffee shop. We felt that live streaming and videotaping our meeting was important for accountability, transparency, and because it gives concerned residents another alternative to see what the library and its staff and the board are doing besides physically attending our meetings. I think we've convened our meeting, I think, about 4 times. Our last meeting was held on February 5th here in the library, and at that time the committee was also joined by Village IT Manager Chris McDowell and Chris Forston, Director of Falls Cable Access. And they helped us to continue to formulate a strategy where we could offer a quality product as inexpensively as possible, keeping in mind compliance with state and federal laws, database storage for necessary time required, possibility of tying into posted agendas, best streaming platforms and means of broadcasting, and responding to open records requests. So that's kind of all the things we're trying to encompass in our meeting. Our next meeting will be on March 11th at 5 o'clock here in the library, and of course everybody is welcome.
Anyone have any questions? Then we got chapter 20 of the library board and building accessibility, trustee education.
All right, so I figured since we're talking about the children's project, that this would be a really good topic to talk about tonight. And it goes over the background of the Americans with Disabilities Act, and then also what building compliance that we need to adhere to as a public building. So as a public building, we need to make sure that our building and our services are accessible to everyone. Talks a lot about having the adequate amount of parking spots. The law is very specific, and it talks about exactly how many parking spots you need, how the parking spots must be painted, the wording on the signage. So going through all of that and making sure that the building is accessible. We did have an accessibility study done, which was facilitated through Bridges Library System in, I want to say 2018, right, Ella? Does that sound right? Around that time?
17 or 18.
So we had an expert come through the building and look at every single aspect of the building to ensure that we were adhering to ADA compliance, everything from the height of signage to the way that the bathroom sinks are, the weight of the doors. Ellen went through and actually she adjusted all of the weight of the doors because they were off, so
And we have a safety and wellness committee, we're doing it again. We're going to do that.
Mhm. Yeah, we formed in 2023 a staff safety and wellness committee, so they do all sorts of things from making sure that we have fun mental health initiatives and making sure that the staff have access to the employee assistance program, but then also doing safety things like fire drills and making sure the building is ADA compliant. There are specific ADA regulations for public libraries, so making sure that the checkout desks, that there is at least one area that is the proper height on the checkout desk for people who are using wheelchairs, that we have accessible stations with the library catalog computers throughout the library, that the magazine and reference shelves are accessible to people who use wheelchairs. There is no maximum height for the general stacks of books in the fiction or the nonfiction section, but we must have staff be able to assist people if they need help getting a book either at the bottom or on the top. We have really focused, and the staff have done a really good job of making sure that we make everything as accessible as possible. For instance, in the large print area, getting the books off the bottom of the shelf, off the last shelf, just because it is really hard to bend over and see those titles. So accessibility is really at the top of staff's mind whenever we're doing anything, and just making sure that everyone feels welcome and that they can use the library. And the chapter talks a lot about how everyone benefits when libraries are accessible. So maybe you aren't physically disabled, but when libraries are ADA compliant and accessible, it makes it a whole lot easier when you're pushing, a 3-child stroller around the library to be able to get around corners and move around. So that's something that we are always working on. Does anybody have any questions about that? We're lucky to have a newer building that was built post 1990. We're really lucky. Some of those older libraries really struggle with the ability to keep it up with ADA compliance, so.
Just a comment that the 3-child stroller thing, that's real.
For real.
Not recently for me, but I remember it.
Yeah,
Very
those are
well.
not small.
I had twins, so I remember
Yeah.
those days. All right, any questions or comments? Next is the library board president's reports. The only thing really that I have to report on is just that we have, you guys know, all passed the coffee shop agreements. So next it will go to the village board on Monday, and then if that's approved, then the work will start right away, and they will have 90 days after the work is completed to open up shop. So looking forward to that.
Can I ask a question, Nicole? So the policy that you talked about creating, is it okay to talk?
Yeah.
The policy that we talked about putting in place about the coffee shop, it wasn't mentioned in your policy thing. When is that going to be part of the policy committee? When will you be talking about that?
So we're going to start brainstorming some ideas of what we want to do policy-wise on our next meeting. And then we'll go from there. I think it'll be easier, like, once we kind of know their flow too, to be able to tailor the policy more specific, like when would be the best time for them to bring in like the baked goods and like that kind of stuff, so. We'll be talking about that. Thank you for that meeting too. All right. Next is the director's report.
Yeah, so big news from January is that even though we did have a couple really bad winter weather days in January, we were able to exceed the amount of visitors coming into the library compared to last year in January. So that's always really fun to see. A great deal of time, of course, this past month was spent really focusing on the Children's Refresh Project, working with vendors and contractors and gathering quotes. Some really exciting news that we were very pleasantly surprised to hear is that we received an award from a company called Opportunities Incorporated. So they work with young people looking to get into the workforce who have special needs, and they place them in various businesses or agencies like the library around town to give them meaningful work experience. And it's through the Division of Vocational Rehab, so it's actually their time here is paid for through DVR, which is really wonderful. So we've had the opportunity to partner with Opportunities Incorporated with a few different people, and we currently are working with someone who is a storytime helper. So she's helping out during story time, she's helping out with the bubble machines and turning the pages of the book and doing the planner boards, and it's just really a wonderful experience for everybody. We love having them. They do really, really hard work. So we received the Workplace Inclusion Champion Award. So that was really, really touching to hear. So that's wonderful.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. So we also I put together a comprehensive orientation document for new board trustees. Previously, we had been really paper heavy with a binder, but I wanted to create a living document with links to lots of resources where if something, new schedules or things come up, that I can upload them on there so that you can always reflect back to it whenever. It's not really just for new trustees. If you're like, oh, what is that for again? It's pretty comprehensive. So if you have any suggestions for things that I should add to that, please let me know. We have a lot of really fun programs upcoming. The new edition of The Storyteller is out, so if you haven't gotten a chance, you can definitely pick one up here at the library. And we are doing all things solar eclipse. So we have solar eclipse programs for kids, for teens, for adults, and we are really excited. We make a big deal out of fun science, stuff like this. So one of the partnerships that we're super pumped about is CE and Rec. We are partnering with them to sponsor a visit by Dr. Jean Creighton from UWM. And so she's gonna go through all the basics of solar eclipses and tell us some really cool facts about them. And also, if you go to that program, you'll receive a free pair of solar eclipse glasses to help view the upcoming solar eclipse. Another really neat thing that we are doing is Melinda Myers, who is, if you're into Wisconsin gardening, you know Melinda. So we have the opportunity to stream a live webinar with her here in the community room beginning in April, and there's a few of them. And this was sponsored by We Energies. So multiple libraries throughout the state of Wisconsin have this opportunity to have Melinda live streaming. And if you've ever seen her speak in person, she's really wonderful. So it should be a really, really fun time. And then one of the new things that we have for tweens is Roll for Initiative. So kids ages 10 to 12, they can get together to play Dungeons and Dragons at the library, which is a really fun activity for them to show creativity. There's a lot of reading involved if you see those manuals, and really work with each other and build some really good social skills. So that's exciting. The library friends are sponsoring that. And we actually have a collection of role-playing game books, guides, and maps. I don't know much about it, but we have that upstairs in the library of things. So if you know someone who's interested in getting started with Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder or something, we have a lot of those materials, so you don't have to go out and buy them because those are expensive. And it's a very expensive hobby. So we're happy to offer that.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
And just because lack of a better way to put it, I play Dungeons and Dragons. So, what kind of advertisement are we doing on these activities?
So all of our programs are listed in the Library Storyteller, which is our quarterly magazine where we have all the upcoming programs. Then we also do quite a bit of advertising via social media because a lot of the tweens parents are in that age group where they are on Facebook quite a bit, like we can get statistics on who our page is reaching. So we do a lot with that. We send out emails for all upcoming programs to our listserv, and then we also do outreach to the schools as well.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you. That's wonderful. So I was just curious.
I know, and it's filling up already too. So we require registration for that one, and it's filling up fast. So really, the kids are really looking forward to it. The only other thing I had is I know we wanted to talk about some upcoming meetings and seeing who's going to be available when. So my annual review is typically scheduled in April, but I know Matt, you said you're not going to be able to. You're completely unavailable for that. They're not going to wait to fly the plane for this review. So would it be okay? Is everyone available at the May meeting, to come to the May meeting? Because we can push it. I don't need to know until July in terms of funding. So we could push the review. Would that be okay with everybody?
What is the date?
Oh, the date. Good question. 15.
Is that May 15th, right?
Yeah.
I'll be there, so that I'm fine with that if everybody else is.
Okay. And Amy did say she could come.
Yeah, she
She couldn't, and then she could.
That's good.
Some changes.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm heading on a long road trip, but I can wait. It'll be fine.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Good.
Awesome. We will do that then. Thank you.
And that's your calendar, is it?
And that's all I had. So, thank you for listening.
Good, because it's your up next on the relations report. Okay. So trustees report from February 19th. Our board was 7-0 approval of engineering's road projects, which is quite extensive this year. We're going to be repairing a lot of roads. And another vote which was 5-2 against rezoning 12 acres on Custer Lake for Teen Challenge. And that was a really tough one. I do think Teen Challenge is a great organization, but rezoning that many acres was voted down, to say that. That was big things for me.
And school district reports?
Can I borrow the mic?
Absolutely.
Thank you. And sorry, got it?
Yeah.
I'll start with why I was late tonight, for which I apologize. Our largest focus group for the strategic planning was actually tonight. So by the time I left, there was over 40 community members. So in all the focus groups, I do the kickoff and the introduction. And then we have an outside facilitator, Dr. Matarazzo from Trustee Education, who's still working with that group right now. So it was great to see over 40 community members. I'll get the final count, but I was excited to see the number, a great diverse group up at the high school library. That was a reschedule. It should have been done already. We just had some illness and some readjust that we needed to do. So that's exciting process that we're in with strategic planning. A couple other big things, and I had my notes out and then side notes, so let me just pull those up again. Winter sports is coming to an end, so that's always a big deal. So winter sports happening when it's warm and cold and warm. But the spring sports are really excited about the possibility of not having any delays. And for those that are a little bit removed from having children in high school, this is a major event. That if you actually start spring sports on time in Wisconsin, it's an amazing thing. And it's wonderful for the students and the families to not have all these reschedules and all these late nights. So it's a really big deal. So I'm very hopeful that we just get dustings like this for the students, families, and everybody who comes out to watch, baseball, softball, soccer, everything, track, everything in the spring. And I'm just pulling up my notes. Our robotics team had a big donation, they won a scholarship from the state of, let me just jump into my Google folder here. There it is. So the robotics team got over $4,500 from a DPI grant. So we're excited about that. Our robotics team I actually visited them not long ago. They're doing a wonderful job. They have community partners that come in and assist. We have students that are coding the robots and working on different aspects, including in the building the pieces, but also coding the pieces. They have 2 different main competitions, and then a pre-season competition. They've already occurred at Hamilton that they did very well at, and I think they had an award about best prepared or something like that. It's a very big deal in that STEM environment. So it was exciting to see, and we really have an active group. I had a good opportunity to speak with a lot of our student coders, and one of them going to UW-Madison in that, and he's on the wait list for MIT. So it was really kind of a cool thing in our community. We're fully engaged in what's called Cisco Dual Multi-Factor Authentication. The reason I bring it up is that there's a lot of cyber hacking and all these sorts of things in the world. It's not a matter of if, it's just when something like that's going to happen. So the district is going through a lot of adjustments constantly, making sure that all the staff have multiple ways to make sure that we're keeping students' data safe, but also all the dollars and cents that flow. Those 2 different sides. CE and Rec, I promised CE and Rec, which is a department, for those that don't know. Community Education and Rec is a department of the school district. So they work under the umbrella of the school district. They have an activity guide that's available online mid-March with guides mailed home in early April. That's for CE and Rec. Registration for summer CE and Rec, told him I'd say this, and the Fall Summer Academy programs begins online 9 p.m. April 14th. So summer registration, CE and Rec, online 9 p.m. April 14th. You can go to fallsrec.org in order to start that registration process for summer. And I also promised our wonderful workers over at CE and Rec that I would say we also are looking for workers. So feel free to go on that same website, fallsrec.org, and we're happy to possibly employ you as well. So our summer programs are very full and very active as they are in most districts. Our teachers went through on February 16th, we had a professional development day, so everybody listening and those here are like, yeah, my kids were home, right? So what were they doing? They were rethinking continuous improvement. We had some solid professional development going on in terms of the continuous improvement process, which is going through essentially 4 questions. What do you want the students to know and learn? How do they know that they know it, which is like assessments. What do you do when they don't get it? What do you do if they already know it? And refining into those questions, which are big things. That's essentially what we do for a living. What do you want the kids to know and learn? What do you do? How do you know if they know it? What do you do when they don't get it? And what do you do if they already know it? If you have those 4 questions, you're getting the gist of the core of what we do. Congratulations to the band on their band review performance. I was there Friday night. It was really a wonderful event. Even had Mr. Bauer, who's the high school principal, do a cameo performance playing the trumpet, which he did a great job. I thought he sounded really good. The kids were awesome, the staff was great, so it's the first time really since COVID where they said they had a full band review. So if you don't know what a review is, it's not just a concert, but it's also play acting kind of built into it a little bit. Best way I can explain it. But a lot of fun. That was Friday night. The Focus on the Falls, I think that has dropped already. The most recent Focus on the Falls that we do with John McCure, it'll be featuring Roman Morse, who went to the school district a little over a decade and a bit ago. It was a great story for a former student in the district who went on to get his PhD and now is employed at MIT. So it was a nice story. I was able to sit in the background, and then I taped my recording where we talked about school-related matters and defeasance, and but the biggest thing I talked about was a process called defeasance, which that's it's a processes with money where we're looking and exploring the distinct possibility in the next couple of months of saving the taxpayers a good amount of money by prepaying debt from the last referendum, right? So the last referendum, we owe money still, but if we prepay the debt, we can save the taxpayers money. So that's called defeasance, and that's something that could be a distinct possibility in the next couple of months. So that's a very positive aspect that we're working on. And just to be clear, there's no need in the next several years for a referendum. There's no need for that I see in the school district in Menomonee Falls. One of the things that I look at is we have a great business department, and finances look, at least for 24-25, which is next school year, in 25-26, which is as far out as we can project safely monetarily with the school district. We have some challenges here and there, but generally speaking, we're not in some of those tough situations that some other school districts are in. So it's a very, very fortunate, very supportive school board with our approach with the fiscal side of things. Some opportunities that are pending. I just talked to an art teacher today, just to reference part of your report. I actually just saw him coming out of a focus group. He was doing something else. Said he was excited to start setting up all of his art items today here. So that's outstanding. So it was good to hear from him today. He's also a wrestling coach.
Oh, yeah, I just talked with you
Yeah.
about another idea. Those are teachers.
I know. He's also one of the wrestling coaches. And for those who don't know my history a little bit, I was a wrestling coach when I was a teacher a long time ago. So we tend to connect quite a bit about wrestling too. So
West, Texas, West or something.
yeah, I mean, so the largest, I lost my train of thought. Jilly's Car Wash. Just wanted to mention that a little bit. I know, why is that in a school report? Well, it's possible that I know the village is working on something as well, and I wrote a letter that they own some property newly over here on Appleton. And depending on things with the village, and there could be a donation to the school district and a new Jilly's Car Wash. I know they're working on things. The reason that it comes up in my report is we're aware of it. I wrote a letter of support, largely because we would get a land donation that we could definitely use as part of that. So whatever happens with the village, we'll see, but I know they have to go through a zoning process or something like that. I'm not trying to get into your business there at all.
That's all right.
But that's something that I know is public and it's out there.
Yeah, it's out there.
So that's something that's pending right now. They've approached the school district about the possibility, would we be interested in a land donation? Of course, the school district said, yes, we would be interested in a land
So I'm
donation.
curious with that land,
Yeah.
because I looked at that space.
Yeah,
We got the fence right there.
yeah.
Do you have thoughts on it? I know we don't need to get into that tonight, but I just got curious, like.
Can you say where it is?
Yes, absolutely. No, absolutely. So the football field, so the stands of the football field, the press box. So right behind that, there's property that between some zone area, and then there's a couple houses there. It's that whole piece in there. There's multiple lots there. So it's behind the press box. So that's where they're talking about. And from my perspective, we'll let things play out, however they play out. The district's piece is, if they're gonna donate land, we have multiple things that we could possibly do that have been brought up. I don't know which path we would go, but we definitely have some challenges based on some of the facilities, whether it be parking or fields. There's been several things discussed as possibilities, but of course we need to let that play out in terms of the process. But that's interesting as well. We were approached months and months ago, and I was very receptive, but said, hey, I know you have to work through the process with the village and do all those steps. So that's an interesting possibility for the long term. Nothing that would affect us, I don't think, next year. But it would be a positive. It would be a net positive for us. And that's all I have. You're welcome.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. So, exciting things going on with the Friends. They welcomed a new board member at large to fill up the marketing communications position. Her name is Courtney and has some good experience behind her, so Friends are very excited about that. I handed out a yellow form to all of you. This is the big Chipotle Give Back event on Saturday, March 9th from 4 to 8. And here in the Falls on Rivercrest Drive. You do not need to bring that flyer to benefit the library and benefit the Friends. You just need to mention the event to the cashier. Friends are really excited that this is on a Saturday, so they're hoping that that brings a lot of people in to benefit the Friends and also benefit the library. Tree planting project, I mentioned that last month, is tentatively scheduled for Friday, June 21st at 10. This is really a community event that's being sponsored by the Friends and also John Cruz, right? Our librarian is just liaison to this. He's been coordinating with, Johnson Nursery, right? Johnson Nursery. They come out, they do a little talk about trees and their importance, and the trees being planted would be local to this area. So just a fun event. And the village has said they'll dig holes, and so it just seems to be coming together. Very, very exciting. So there's that. There's a Friends Firsties book sale. That's a perk for the Friends members on Wednesday, April 24th from 5 to 9. They were brainstorming lots of other ideas in 2024, so that continues to be conversation. Just neat things are happening in the Friends. That's all.
Thank you. Next, Jackie for the
All right. The big moment. I'm just gonna check really fast to see if the network is up, to see if I can get my PowerPoint. But if not, we'll be okay without it. I did have fun pictures. I was so excited about the PowerPoint, but the network outage has not been successful. So, yeah, it's not up yet. That's okay. We can pivot. All right, so I'm just going to share the project proposal that you have in front of you, and then I have a couple individual pictures that I was able to get that were not on the network of the flooring, so you'll at least be able to see that. So this is the project proposal for the Children's Library refresh. It's not really a renovation, we're not tearing down walls, but there is significant work done to really change that space. So the first picture is what you may see coming into the library. So I worked with Arlen from Village of Public Works on finalizing this. He went through and vetted all of the work that's to be done and the various proposals, which I was really grateful for. And the background of the Children's Library is that much of that is original to this library. So it's over 20 years old. There have been some new furnishing pieces, but much of it was original. Initially, when we upgraded the teen space and the maker space and relocated the local history room on the second floor, it was going to be one big project in which we also were going to renovate the first floor. That did not happen due to financial constraints at the time, and that was back in 2018 when it was initially pursued. We were working with an architect and a designer, so we do have some initial renderings of their ideas for the space, but a lot of that was really large-scale, true renovations, tearing down walls, relocating bathrooms. So it was a very big project. So what we're proposing tonight is a smaller scale and more affordable version of that doesn't have any actual changes to the building or the structure. What else do you need to know about that? So back in 2018, when we initially started working with the architects and doing the renderings, there was also like a space needs study done. So what needs to be done to the space in order for it to be better? And a lot of this had staff input on how the space could be used better, board input as well at the time. So we really had a good foundation to do this project proposal, knowing what we really need in the space. And I think you'll be pleased that a lot of it is small tweaks, and it's not completely redoing everything. There's a lot that we're able to reuse as part of this new proposal. So looking at the flooring, we worked with looking at a couple local vendors for the flooring. As you know, I had pictures in my PowerPoint of how awful the flooring is, but I think you all know. The flooring was never truly installed correctly, the carpeting. It was some of the first kind of peel and stick carpet tiles, and it never stuck properly. And of course, over time, over 20 plus years, it's gotten even worse. So we're dealing with trip hazards. We're dealing with some serious stains that make sitting in the children's program room completely unappealing during a program such as Little One Lap Sit. So what we're proposing is that the flooring in the children's program room and the Forge Junior area, so the creating and crafting area for kids in the back corner, 10, 12, which is a tween space, the student study room, and then also the children's staff offices, that those be replaced with luxury vinyl plank flooring. So it's durable, it's waterproof, it's hypoallergenic, and it's gonna allow us to be able to clean up spills and messes, and it's gonna withstand a lot longer than carpeting in those spaces, because those are high mess areas. So we're gonna be able to clean it up so much better. So we're gonna have the LVP in those areas, and then we are going to have a seamless transition to carpeting in the green area on the map. And I'll show you in a minute the rendering, some of the initial renderings, but the pattern of the LVP is going to mimic the pattern of the carpet planks. So they're both planks, and I can show you some pictures. So this is just an initial rendering of the LVP over in this space. This is not final, so we're still working on tweaking it a bit, but it gives you an idea of how it's going to look. And then the carpeting is going to share that same pattern using the same color scheme, and that's going to transition over into all of these areas. So we're going to have more. This is just a first rendering, but we're going to have more color mixed in, like there's going to be more grays and blues over here, so it's not going to be as large of chunks, but it's going to look really, really cool, and it matches our color scheme, which I will show you in just a bit. Yeah?
And I know we talked briefly about this, but so was it the flooring company that recommended doing carpeting versus just continuing with the LVP throughout?
Yes, and that's largely due to the noise. So the sound.
Okay.
The sound is going to travel greatly in that area, and when we have, you know, a lot of enthusiastic littles after story time, that noise has the potential to truly travel quite a bit, more than we would like for that space. Already, one of our future projects is looking at potentially getting some sound barriers hanging from the ceiling, some really fun like cloud designs where it will muffle some of the sound above those LVP areas, because they were really concerned about the potential for sound to travel so much. So that's the flooring. We specifically are interested in contracting with Lippert for a few different reasons. First of all, we like to work with local businesses whenever possible. They are very professional, and they have the ability to create a seamless transition between the LVP and the carpet. Other companies would require a big metal lip, so there would be a big bump going over, which would not be ideal when you're talking about things like accessibility, when you're talking about little children who don't necessarily pick up their feet when they're walking all the time. We have strollers going in that space, so they were the only company that is able to create a seamless transition.
Congruent, or how did they say? I mean,
Yeah, so what they're going to do is they're going to, so the carpeting in the LVP is not the same height, so they're going to do a skim coat beneath the areas where there's the LVP so that it's exactly even, and then they have the ability to sort of transition the carpeting into the LVP with no transition barrier. And they say that they work with nursing homes and assisted living facilities all the time, and they always make sure that it's flush. So that was really a big selling point of working with Lippert. Another selling point of working with them is that they contract directly with a furniture and book moving company, C.H. Copley. So when we looked at working with other flooring companies, what would have to happen is that we would have to hire directly, so the library would have to hire directly a book moving company, and then we would have to try to coordinate between working with those two companies for the books to completely leave the space, so they would get carted up, they would go into a shipping container in the library parking lot for approximately 4 weeks, and then be moved back in and put on the shelves. That's not ideal for a lot of reasons. So we're going to be looking into doing this in November and December, so we have climate to consider, exposure to the elements. If we have books that get damaged with something like mold, that can spread, so we want to avoid that at all costs. And also time. So the amount of time that they're spending moving all these books, taking them to the parking lot, and then moving them back is a lot more time than is ideal. And then finally, selfishly, it would be very difficult to try to coordinate with the furniture, the painting, and the moving company to make sure that everybody's schedules are aligning. That's like some general contractor work. Like, I know we talked about hiring a general contractor. That's a lot of work for staff. So what Lippert does is they contract with this company directly, and they have the movers working alongside them every step of the way. So they will have the movers working with them, move all the books from one shelf, put them on carts, move the shelf, they'll do the flooring, move it back, and the books go directly back on the shelf. So no books ever leave the building, which is amazing. And it also leaves a lot less potential for books to just be reshelved completely wrong, and then we have to redo it.
Was there like any price difference in like going with that
There was
versus?
There was a slight price difference. However, the other companies that we looked at, we would only subcontract for the book moving, not the furniture moving, and they would have the carpet staff would be doing the furniture moving of the bookshelves. But we felt that it was worth having that price difference because we're working with a specialized moving company who knows how to move these large scale bookshelves. They have the experience, they have the tools. So there was a slight price difference, less than I expected, but I definitely think it's well worth it. Any questions on that? Yeah. And then painting. So the Children's Library has not been painted since the building was constructed. So the village works with Dublin contractors from Butler very often for all of their village buildings. So we worked with them, and we were able to get a discount for them to paint all of the walls, remove the tackable fabric from the children's program room, that weird green wall that's in there, do a lot of patchwork, and work with us on our fun color scheme. So this is our color scheme. We specifically chose the bright colors in order to appeal to today's children. So the colors that are currently in the Children's Library, they definitely had an appeal in early 2000s for sure. Those were the fun forest colors, but they are very, very dark. Today's children really enjoy these bright colors, and there's a psychology behind it actually. So the certain colors actually promote a sense of calm. They have been proven to lower blood pressure and just create a calming environment for children so that they feel comfortable spending much time in the space. So we're really looking forward to it. And these are just renderings of where the potential colors might be. We're not completely finalized on that, but we anticipate the colors being spread throughout the library and just adding so much brightness to the space. We are so blessed to have that wall of windows, but if you notice, the dark green walls that we currently have, they're not doing us any favors in continuing that bright space throughout. So we would be proposing having Dublin do it, and then they also offer a discount, a 10% discount since it would be done during the winter months, so that's great. It works great for our schedule and it works great for them. Any questions on that? All right, furnishings. So we have quite a few furnishings that we are proposing. A lot of the furnishings over there are original. There are some that were purchased later, but a lot of them that were there that were original are already long gone just because they had already reached the end of their lifespan. So we would like to purchase new soft seating chairs, and these are all going to be easily cleanable, easily wipeable. We're not going to have, I don't think we're going to have any actual fabric. It's all going to be wipeable, which is absolutely needed in that area. We're going to have a new vinyl soft seating for the, right here, this is going to be for the early literacy. Children are going to be greeted by a really fun bright bench when they walk in, and all of the colors are coordinating. These are new tables that you'll see throughout the library. And then these are the tables that you will see in the children's program room. So they're very simple. They're the kid version of the ones that are upstairs in the makerspace right now, but they do work with adult heights as well, because we realize adults do use that room regularly for meetings and events. And then just adding pops of color and pops of fun, like this fun sit and play snake, just to make kids feel really excited about coming into the library. So quite a bit of furnishings. Other things that we are working on is the, I don't know if I put it in this portion or not. My PowerPoint had such great pictures, you guys. So the computer carols, we have 2 computer carols where the children's computers are currently. They are both actually adult-sized computer carols, so they're not made for small children. So we tracked down the original company that sold us this furniture over 20 years ago, and they still make the same computer carols, updated to look a little modernized. So we would be interested in purchasing a regular set of computer carols for the internet computers. We would lose an additional space for an internet computer for children, so that would kind of reflect the usage, which is fine. But the internet computers would be on the larger carol, and then the smaller child-sized carol, which is really, really made for little ones, that would be for the early literacy computers, those touchscreen AW computers. We have 4 of them. The problem that we have now is that we have chairs over there that are on wheels and that are way too big for the kids that are using those early literacy computers. So they're often balancing on wheelchairs and then trying to touch the touchscreen computer, and they often can't reach it. So this is going to make it so much more accessible for the actual target audience. And then we will also get a new self-checkout table over there that matches the new carols. And, exciting, we were able to fit into this proposal some really fun outdoor benches and chairs that are made out of durable material that match our color scheme for the children's patio area. We currently have some adult-sized tables, which is really nice, and we're going to certainly keep some of them out there so that adults who are with their children can use the space, but just new and exciting usage for that space that we really need to make more kid-friendly. And then shelving. So shelving is done by the same company that does the carols. So what we want to do is we want to update, they're currently a forest green on the top of the shelf toppers are a forest green, which does not match any of our new color scheme, and it really does not look good with our new colors. So we want to update those shelf toppers, just purchase new ones with a neutral color laminate that, I can show you exactly, this neutral color laminate. It's not it's an off-white, it is not pure white. And that would be the same laminate that's on the top of the carrels, and then also the children's desk probably. The reason that we want to update it is by going with a neutral color, those shelves are going to be able to last us many, many more years, even after we decide to repaint them. There's nothing wrong with the shelves themselves. They're really durable and sturdy, and they work well for our needs. So just updating the top is what we would be interested in doing.
Mr. Jack, the light color on top of desks and on top of, so I'm assuming it cleans really, really well.
It does, and it's not a pure white. It's not as pure white as you're thinking. It's more of a cream, because we realize, you know, like and pencils and all that stuff, but it is dark enough that it shouldn't show.
And it should wipe up, I'm assuming it's.
Yeah, because it's just like a standard laminate.
Okay.
It's the exact same material that's out there now. It wipes up really, really well.
Great.
Is there any question about the furnishings or the shelving? All right. Oh, yeah.
Where does the 74,667 in investments, is that in the furnishings?
Oh, are you talking about the budget for this project?
Yeah, I'm reading that.
I'm gonna get to that part.
Okay, all right, sorry.
I'm just at the fun part right now.
All right.
All right, so then we move on to the children's program room cabinetry and sink. It certainly served us well. We have lots of really fun, messy programs like Petite Picassos for little ones in there, so they need a sink to be able to wash all the paint off, but it is very damaged. Over time, the cabinetry has gotten very water damaged, and it's not useful for staff for storage because they're not lockable, so they really can't put a lot of supplies in there safely with a guarantee. So we would like to work with Creative Business Interiors. They're currently working with the village right now for some updates in the village hall to install new lockable laminate cabinets like what you see here, different colors, a new countertop, and a much larger sink that's really designed for a classroom. Right now it's a very, very tiny sink, so of course there's no wonder that there's water damage when you've got, you know, 10 toddlers trying to wash paint off their hands. It's going to get messy. So we would like them to update that, and then the children's staff will be so excited to have some more storage space because there's just never enough. Moving on to our trustee children's reference desk. So this was custom designed for this area, and it is really a perfect size for the area. There's really nothing wrong with the meat of the desk. The only issue is at the tops of the desk. Over time and over years of us cleaning the tops of the desk, it became very, very sticky. So if you touch the top of the desk, it is like it's just completely sticky, and the color has actually started coming off. So like if you put a Clorox wipe on it, the blue, it is blue. So Creative Business Interiors is going to be able to put a new top on the desk, matching our new color scheme, and with a more reinforced barrier so that we don't have this problem in the future with that stickiness. Of course, it's kind of expected after 20 years that something like this would happen. We looked into, okay, if we're going to pay for a new top for the desk, how much does it cost for a completely new desk? Like, would it be more worthwhile to just get a new desk built? For a custom desk that looks like this, that fits the space, you're looking at anything between $40,000 to $80,000. So that's a hefty investment, whereas this would be about $12,000, and we felt that that was a really good way to save money because truly the desk itself, they don't make them like that anymore, right? You've got that maple and it's very, very, it works well for our needs, so it just needs a little help.
This is the Creative Business Interiors quote.
Yes, there's two quotes for Creative Business. One is for the cabinetry, and then one is for the children's desk. Signage. So wayfinding signage is so important. And a lot of our signage is that we had initially is actually down now because collections changed, names of the collections changed over time, so we don't have a fair amount of signage. We wanted something that was designed to really make it clear that you're entering the children's library. So many people, if they're just visiting the library for the first time, they don't actually realize that they're stepping into the children's library. So really a fun and bright sign would be able to show that you are now entering the children's library. We worked with 3 local sign companies to look into see what they could do for us. Povlaki Sign, who we worked with before, they actually did the original signage for the building. They also did all the signage when we did the upstairs renovation. We were really satisfied with their work. They were able to color match. They were able to ensure ADA compliance, and it just looked the best. So we would get new overhead signage, new wall signage for each room with the braille, and then some wall-mounted signage for the restrooms, the quiet room, those areas.
Jackie, I'm going to go from signage to, I'm looking at this picture and I remember that when we first had this building created, it was very woodlands, right? And so,
Very.
Yes, and so we've got the bear and the beaver and all of those. That's not going to change, is it?
No, so the bear and the beaver and all the different animals that are on the shelves, we are keeping those. We could swap those out, but honestly, it doesn't need to be.
No,
Some of them we may flip, just to kind of face, like all of the animals facing the window. And then the nonfiction, all of the ones that are on the bathroom wall are all blank, so we're just gonna swap those. And then it's like you got brand new shelves. So
and then the footprints, I know.
the footprints are staying.
They're staying.
The footprints are absolutely staying. Children love them. If you spend any time in the children's library, you see them skipping into the children's library following the footprints, so they will stay and they'll use our current carpeting, our new carpeting color scheme.
And they'll put the footprints on the new carpet.
Yeah, with all of our new colors. So that was a non-negotiable. I know some of the companies were like, how attached are you to those footprints? And I'm like, that is a deal breaker. Like, you make those footprints work. So yeah, they really enjoy following those to the tree. Do you have a question? Okay. And then moving on to technology. So in the children's program room, the technology is very, very old. We currently have a VGA cable to hook up to laptops for our projector. There's a VCR in there, and it's so old and outdated that we don't actually allow members of the public to use it when they're having a meeting in there, just because something will go wrong or they'll just get frustrated that they can't actually connect. So we are proposing that Global Sight and Sound, that's the company that did the technology in this room, that they install a 86-inch Sharp Aquas board, so that's a touchscreen display. If you've ever used or seen a smart board in schools, it's very similar. And then the members of the public would be able to use that. There would be a wall-mounted touchscreen, just like we have over here, and there would be microphones in that room for accessibility. And then all of that would tie into our hearing loop, which works with folks who have the T-coil in their hearing aids.
One comment. We do have many smart boards, but we are transitioning
To the Aquas?
more to these,
Mm-hmm.
we call them Promethean. There's a lot of different names for them, but we're transitioning more in that direction.
Yeah. So we feel that this is going to be really good for the members of the public who have expressed an interest in needing technology for when they have meetings in there, and then also for staff who are going to be able to do so much more in that room now with updated technology. Additionally, another tech project is that we are going to have a display board, a digital display board that's hanging from the ceiling when you first enter the children's library, so that we can have a revolving display of flyers and posters and upcoming events, news. for any patrons ages 0 to 12, 13, that sort of age. And so that would be ceiling mounted, and it's meant to be going 24/7, so it's not like it's gonna burn out. And then the staff are gonna be able to update that. We do have one just like that in the teen space that has the flyers going, and it just looks really, really, really sleek. There's some additional projects that I did not include in this proposal just because we're still figuring out the details of it. So one of those that Ann mentioned is upgrading and redesigning the tree in the children's library. It is a beloved part of this library. It's so cool. But looking at maybe, getting it some more leaves over time. The leaves have really fallen, and just making it look, giving it a little facelift and making it look better. So there's some definite potential there. We have some leaves on patio flooring for the children's patio. It's almost like a playground flooring. I think they have it at the Village Park playground where it's kind of bouncy and cozy, so the kids would be able to play out there and not be on hard concrete. We'd be able to have sensory tables out there, activities, and it would be a lot more child-friendly. So we're just starting to explore that with Lippert, who was able to source a product for us. So I'll have some more information for that soon. Additionally, if possible, maybe some updates to the children's restrooms. They're not awful, they could use a little bit of updating. We have been writing for some grants for a step stool, for a koala care step stool for those rooms that's actually floor mounted, so there's no chance of the step stool slipping. So hopefully we hear back about that. There's potential for having a steam wall in Ford Junior with interactive manipulatives on the wall. We're looking at doing an art wall in the tween space. So just all good things, additional forthcoming, but they didn't make it into this proposal. We really wanted to get moving with booking some of the really important, sorry, I should have had this up this entire time. So, David, I get to the best part, the budget.
Sorry,
No, that's fine, that's
I
fine.
had them both side by side.
So, we try to be as fiscally prudent and responsible as possible with this to make sure that we can get the most bang for our buck. Total, all in, we're looking at $346,000 for this project, which I think I said in my email to you. If you look at everything we are getting, I think that is incredibly reasonable. So breaking it down, we received $150,000 from the village to update the flooring and the paint. So you can see it broken down. That's Fund 605 on this graph. You can see the flooring cost, the furniture moving for the flooring, that's kind of built in with Lippert's proposal, and then the paint. So that would deplete the $150,000. You can see that on the paint chart. Then we have directed donations. So we have around $3,700 currently in directed donations from people from the community who have been very generous to donate money to go towards this endeavor. And so we are proposing that the digital sign that I mentioned that would have the posters, that would be paid for out of the directed donations, and that actually leaves a little bit of money left over for any future projects. Then we're looking at the fund balance. So the 221 fund balance is the building and maintenance fund balance, and I'll do a little bit of a further deep dive in a minute into the fund balance. But we are proposing the book moving, so the actual moving of the books coming out of that fund balance. Why is that there? Why is that not part of the furniture moving? Well, the costs increased quite a bit since we asked for $150,000 from the village last year. So we felt that it was fair and prudent to simply pay for the excess out of the fund balance for the book moving. And I think that makes sense.
And to be clear, 74,000 of that is interest earned on investments
From last year,
from last year.
correct.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Man, that's great.
And then other things from the fund balance would be the children's desk repair, the bookshelf tops, the carrels, and then all of the furnishings, the signage. And then Arlen requested that we have a contingency fund from the 221 fund balance. So he suggested 5% of the project cost. So that's about $16,500. That will only be spent if something happens during this project where something is going to cost a little bit extra. So if they start getting into the flooring and they realize, oh geez, just kidding, our proposal was a little off, then we would have that contingency fund to pull from it without having to come back to the library board for $600 here, $1,000 there. So if we don't need to spend that money, all of that would stay in the fund balance after this project. So it's only on an as-needed basis.
Do you believe that's enough of a contingency?
I think so. The quotes that we got seem very, very accurate, particularly for those larger projects like the painting and the carpeting and the furnishings. They're pretty spot on. So I did talk to all of the vendors and I was like, are you sure? Like, this is gonna be it if we sign this proposal soon? And they're like, yes. So they felt really good about that. Obviously, if we would need to spend over $16,000 of additional money on something, that's something I would definitely want to bring back to the board and talk to you about for sure. So I don't anticipate needing more, but you've probably done more projects of this sort of size than I have. So if you have any input and you think maybe.
Just our current environment that we're in right now, it's a little volatile with respect to expenses, but if you're closer to this than I am, if you feel confident and our people are saying 5% contingency, I'm good with that.
Okay.
I more was, I mean, obviously, when you work on a project like this, you talk to the subcontractors
Right.
and you're talking to all these people. If you feel confident in where we're at with these numbers, then we're good.
Yeah, especially with the big ticket ones, like I said, and the furniture is the furniture, like that's the quote, so that's not changing as long as we sign it within 30 days.
And renovations, you're a lot closer than new build.
Right,
So new build is a lot more difficult.
they shouldn't find too many surprises.
Okay.
So that's good.
Is this the company that's checking the floor?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's an area where I think there might be an issue.
So-
They're checking, when they take the flooring off, they're checking for water. You know, if there's any seepage from the grounds
Yeah.
up in, so.
And I think I've asked this before, do we have any asbestos concerns in this building?
So, you know, we don't really know why the carpet's not sticking, but my thought was maybe it's water.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's just something in the back of my mind that I'm glad they're doing that.
And if there's water, you have to check for mold,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
mold checks.
So that may be an area where we have to repivot.
Okay. So then the children's program room, audio visual, and then the cabinetry, counter and plumbing, we are proposing pulling that out of the special reserves accounts that we have. So those are different than the fund balance. A lot of these accounts are very, very old, particularly the ones that we're talking about. Those were set aside as leftover funds from when the building was built. And so they've just sat and gained some interest over the years. Some of the recent projects that we've done with some of those special reserves is upgrading our security camera system, other building type projects. So this really fits. And like I said, this money has been here for over 20 years now. So I think it makes sense to spend it on improvements.
Jackie, wasn't it recommended that we don't use that money anyway? Wasn't that a conversation we had?
Some of the funds, yeah, I can jump to Yeah, I'm gonna jump to the special reserves just to go through those right away. So there's 5 different accounts. There's the library board memorial. Some of that is designated. So that would be typically if someone passes away and they leave money to the library. For instance, we have about $2,000 in there that's designated for memory cafe programs, programs for people with memory loss. So that's what that is. The library building general, that is the leftover money from when this building was built, when they did all those awesome fundraising campaigns back in the early 2000s, and everybody was cutting checks left and right for $50,000 a piece. So we have a little bit of money left over in there. That would really be spent down quite a bit. So we would be left with under $1,000 in there, which I feel very comfortable about. I feel like this is a perfect project to spend these funds on. The library clock, so that was money that when they moved the clock from the old library, the day's clock upstairs from the old library to this library, one local historian and clock lover set aside some funds in order to take care of the clock, getting it cleaned every few years.
We're not touching that.
What?
We're not touching that.
No, we're not touching that. That clock is very, very special. So, and I know we've had conversations at the board before, like, this is important. So that money would remain in there. The library miscellaneous, that is just miscellaneous money that was put in there. So it wasn't really designated. There's a lot of these special reserves
That
accounts.
money is probably 40 to 50 years old. That it's been, it just keeps adding to it.
And then we have a small materials fund. So that would be if somebody donates money specifically to go towards teen books or children's books, and we don't have the ability to spend all of it in 1 year, that it would go in there. We did get it really far down, I think a couple years ago. It was almost at 0, but then the interest kept building up, so it built back up again. So we gotta buy some more books, or we gotta do something with that. So we're really proposing taking a lot of the money from the special reserves, and I feel like it's a very good use of the money. So much of this, you know, $35,000, that was donated to go towards this building. So what better use than updating it 20 years later?
Can you explain to me, so we're not using the clock money? So of these lines, which one are we using to?
The yellow ones.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, the 2 yellow ones.
That's all, yeah.
And then I'm going to jump back up to the previous page talking about just the beginning balance of Fund 605. Like I said, we depleted that. We are using the directed donations, and then we have the fund balances. So in 2023, we were able to add in both of the fund balances, Fund 220 and 221, over $130,000. A lot of that was the unbudgeted interest on investments. So we budgeted way less than we actually received for interest, just because for so many years the interest rate was super low and we didn't have any information from Village Finance on how much to actually anticipate. So we received a lot more revenue than we were expecting. We also saw a great deal of deficit in expenses. We had retirements, we had open positions, and then we also had an influx of new employees who happened to choose a less expensive health insurance plan than the previous employee had. So we were able to add quite a bit of money into 220 for that, and some of that, the interest would be 221. But then also looking specifically at 221, the building maintenance, we had a lot less snow removal than was needed, and less buildings and grounds repair than was budgeted. So designated, in this chart, you'll see how much of that is designated in each fund. So what does that mean, and what is that money for? So the designated funds, those include the retirement payouts that we need to be able to pay out to our employees in the event they retire. And then 3 months of operating expenditures, that's compliant with Village Finance, so that we stay, we keep the auditors happy, we keep everybody happy, so that would be 3 months of operating. So you can see how much is undesignated in each. Obviously, we don't have a whole lot to pull out of the operations fund balance. We have about 3,900 undesignated, but building, we have 415,000 undesignated. So all in with this project proposal, we are proposing spending a little over $154,000 from the Fund 221 balance, leaving us with an estimated ending balance of $359,000, almost $360,000. 260 of that will remain undesignated. And I feel really comfortable with these numbers, especially with the amount of work that has been done in the past year or so to really figure out who's responsible for what is the village going to pay for, what are we going to pay for. At one time, not too long ago, we had no idea, so we were a lot more cautious with the fund balance, thinking, okay, if our boiler decides to go kaput, are we paying for that? Is the village paying for that? So we have a lot better understanding now that the village would maintain those types of things, and that the village is responsible for flooring and paint, whereas we also didn't know at one time if that was the case. So things are looking really optimistic with the fund balance, and I appreciate everybody on the board who's helped with those clarification discussions because they were very greatly needed.
Okay, Jackie, again, memorandum of understanding, are we going to do something with the village with regards to that? Is that something still in conversation for next year then? I think Mark mentioned something about that.
Yeah, we had the village manager at a meeting earlier in mid-2020, January, I think. Was he here January? Okay, that seems like forever ago.
That was the first time.
Oh yeah, he came and then he discussed putting together a document, and then things happened and the document didn't actually get solidified. But then I think we had he came again to follow up with that. So we don't have a piece of paper that says the village is going to pay for this, we're going to pay for this, but we do have, I think, a really solid working understanding of who's responsible for what. So as much as I would love to have a really nice piece of paper that clarifies everything, I think a lot of the discussions that we had in 2023 were super fruitful, and I personally feel a lot more confident moving forward.
So the boiler issue, that would be something the village would cover. We were worried about the elevator. That was another thing that's just not very reliable. We feel confident that the village would cover that as well.
So we pay out of the 221, we pay for all of the maintenance, all of the upkeep. If we have a part from the elevator that dies, that comes out of our 221 fund. If there was anything large scale, like the elevator is just never going to work again, that would be when we start having those conversations with the village. And Mark very clearly said there's no way that you guys would be able to pay for this stuff out of your fund balance. So I think they're very understanding of our budgetary limitations, and also the fact that the village does own this building.
Just want to clarify.
Oh yeah, thank you, I appreciate that. And then I have a project timeline here. It's really hard to see. It was part of a larger Gantt chart that I have going on. So after this is approved tentatively tonight, we're going to sign all those contracts, get all the furnishings ready to go, and then we're really looking into November for the actual execution of this project. So starting after the presidential election, because the village, we are a polling place and the village needs this room, we would start on 11/11 tentatively with flooring tear out. We would get the new cabinetry in the sink. We would have all of the furniture moved out, flooring being worked on, painting. They would work alongside each other, the painters and the flooring company. So obviously the painters are not going to be coming after the flooring. So they're going to work together to kind of figure out their delicate balancing act there. And then moving all of the new furniture in. We can install the new shelf tops, it's 4 screws. We'll have the AV installed done by Global. We'll have the signage installed by Poblaki. There's going to be continued furniture moving in because it's going to be quite a process. And then the temporary library, which I haven't touched on, would be torn down, and then we could possibly have a grand reopening looking at December 16th. So we were very generous with the amount of time that we gave this project. It's definitely more than it will probably take. However, we're super aware that we're dealing with Thanksgiving and also hunting season in there. So we want to make sure that we're not alerting the public that will be reopened in the children's library when it's actually not open. So what's going to happen logistically is the entire children's library will be unavailable to the general public during this time when work is being done. There's just no way that we can have those two commingling. This community room has the ability to be divided. So this side of the room, we're going to put the divider up. This side of the room will be the program room. So we'll have all of our regular programs in here on a much smaller scale, but luckily it's a pretty quiet time for programs anyway, so that works out really well for us. It's not like we're trying to juggle the summer reading program with this. So we'll still be able to have programs in here. And then this side of the room is going to be the temporary children's library. So people still need access to materials. They still need access to books to be able to talk to the children's staff, get their 1,000 books logged. So this is going to transform into a temporary children's library. Staff will be here at a temporary desk, and then we'll also have a large selection of really popular materials during this time. So no, it'll be a smaller service, but what's really nice is that because all of the books are staying in the building, we have the ability to replenish as needed and make sure that everybody is able to get the materials they want. We can probably even run over there and, depending on where they're out with carpeting, and grab a book if someone wants it from the shelf. So trying to keep it as open and as accessible as humanly possible during this time. And then I did include all of the quotations for service. There's quite a few. And then that's pretty much all I have. What questions or comments do you have for me?
We're done with the motion. Oh, yeah, should we do a motion first or this one?
Oh, I think you can go either way.
Do you have any thoughts on maybe making the tween area bigger?
I don't think that we can make it bigger, but we are
Expanding it?
yeah, we're definitely going to expand the offerings in that room. So working on getting an art wall going, more interactive. We just ordered a new whiteboard in there. So we ordered a new glass whiteboard for in there that was on sale. So we're working on bumping up that room, definitely. And hopefully with some community collaborations. We realize that that room is not as big as it easily could be. Like, we could have a whole tween space the size of the teen space. Unfortunately, we're just really limited with that space over there. But we hope that the Forge Junior area, which is going to be geared towards older children, which would be including the 10 to 12 range, can almost be an expansion of 10, 12, and then there's going to be a lot of activities for them over there, and then it just sort of feels older, that it feels like older kids can use that entire area over there, whereas we have activities for littler ones, coloring sheets, things like that, maybe over closer towards the tree and the exploratory play center. And I think that the patio is going to be really enticing. With the furniture, I don't have a picture of it here, but with the furniture, it's very tween on the patio. So I would love for that to be a fun hangout space for them too.
I'd like to make a motion, and then we can always ask more questions, if that's okay. Motion to approve $346,000 for the Children's Library project as presented by Director Rammer, Day, February 28th, 2020.
Second.
Any discussion?
I have a comment. The detail and specificity in all this is outstanding.
Oh, thank you.
Just detail, specificity, all the quotes, and that's a lot of work.
It
Wow.
was. I'm telling you, sometimes it was a little stressful.
Oh, yeah.
When they don't make a lot of really fun flooring that would appeal to children. So there were days, Ellen will tell you, I wasn't happiest, but when it all finally came together, I think it was awesome. I think it's going to be truly a 21st century library for today's kids that appeals to today's kids.
And I was fortunate to be able to build a school library in Menomonee with an eye. And similar culling and similar furniture, not something that I would necessarily sit in, but the kids loved it. The kids loved it, and you know, to this day. So, well done on the report. I don't really have any other questions other than great news on whoever business, $75,000 in interest. Is that you, Alan, or both?
It's the interest rate.
It's the interest from the fund balance is what it is.
No, I get it.
Ellen was very.
But
I
that's
counted
great.
it all.
But you still have to invest it, right? You have to pick the fund.
No, the village does that.
Oh, they have their own. Okay, cool. It's still great for the taxpayers to see in a high interest environment, those things are working positively
Yeah.
toward this.
And I agree, I think you did a great job on it, and I think using the 221, as we discussed, since I got on this board, is appropriate for these updates.
Thank you. And I cannot take all of the credit. Our youth services manager, Katie Alford, she has the eye for design. So none of this design was me. I called a lot of companies to ask about the things that she wanted, but she has a wonderful eye for design. She was really the impetus behind the teen space upstairs and had a huge role in designing that. So we're so lucky to have her. She doesn't have a formal design background, but I think I told her multiple times during this that she should do this on the side and design libraries. So she's really in tune with what today's kids are interested in. And Ellen, of course, helped with a lot of the quotes as well.
And maybe those other projects could be part of, our group, as we discuss, opportunity to get the community involved.
I love that idea. Yeah, definitely.
I want to say thank you, Jackie. I know it took a lot of time and efforts from you, so I appreciate it. I'm excited to get going on this project. This
Me
is
too.
something I've been looking forward to since I got on the board.
I know,
so-
November sounds really far away, but I think it'll be here closer than we think.
Especially with lead times.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, anyone else have any questions?
I just want to comment.
Go ahead, Matt.
No, it's
I just had to throw out there, I promised my 6-year-old that I would ask
Oh,
that the tree is not going anywhere,
It's
right?
not
I have to see it.
the tree is here to stay. We are in it for the long haul.
They hope that
I promised her I would ask. No, you did a wonderful presentation. I mean, any question I had, whether it was a proposal or why or where or how, was more than answered in your report. So well done.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm seconding that too.
Oh.
It is so superb.
Oh, thank you.
So,
Thank you very much.
All right, all those in favor to approve $346,000 to the Children's Refresh Project, say aye.
Aye.
I
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Awesome. Thanks, you guys. I cannot wait. I cannot wait to tell everyone.
All right, next meeting is Wednesday, March 20th, 2024 at 6 p.m. We are adjourned.